Hi, thank you all for all of your patience. And I am so grateful to all of the people who are pulling all of the different cords at this moment to make this possible. My name is Andrea Boykowicz. I'm the Interim Director at Oakland Planning and Development Corporation. We are the RCO, which is to say the Registered Community Organization for the part of Oakland where this is happening. We're here today for a development activities meeting. Which is a required review process and an opportunity for the public to provide some input, to ask questions and learn more about projects of immediate concern. Joe is about to explain lots of this in much more technical detail, I'm sure. But this is a meeting where our hope is that we are going to learn more about what it is that the corner has planned. And we are going to hear the questions from the community, from neighbors, from other interested stakeholders. If you have comments that you'd like to offer in this meeting, you may, but this is not a community meeting where we're here to decide as a group how we feel about anything. This is more just an opportunity for people to ask questions and get information. This is, I'm hopeful and I trust all of this process. We're going to have a great conversation this evening. The basic ground rules here, since we are hybrid and there is a kind of a give and take, please just be patient about raising your hand, waiting your turn to be able to say what you want to say. If you are on the phone or if you are otherwise on the computer side of this, if you could raise your hand or you could drop us a note in the chat if you have a question. If you'd like to write your question in the chat, you may. If you'd rather ask your question yourself, you also certainly may. Just try and signal to us so that we can get to you. Welcome, everybody. I'm about to hand it over to the Department of City Planning. Joe, if you could kindly introduce yourself and Tom, and then we will hand it off to Nadine, who is on site.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to meet everyone. I'm with the Department of City Planning. I'm in the zoning division. Once this application is submitted, we will be doing the review on it. And part of the application process is to go through the development activities meeting to meet with the community and kind of spell out the project scope. We have not been provided with the application yet. What I've seen is what's on the website. So I can't give a thorough review yet of the project. However, it does look like it will require some zoning relief from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So that's one reason why we're here today. It's to kind of discuss what the overall goal of the project is. And whenever there's zoning relief as a part of a project, it is reviewed by the community as part of this process. So I can turn it over to Thomas if he wants to provide a little bit more information on the community planning side of things.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Thomas Sharp with Department of City Planning with neighborhood planning staff. So I am covering for my colleague Osiaki Logan. She is the neighborhood planner for the Oakland area. She couldn't make it today, but we are eager to be here and present here. I think Joe mentioned a lot of the elements related to kind of the zoning components on approvals. I know the development team will have an opportunity to share more about the requests they're making or they expect to make for zoning requests. My understanding is it's possible this may go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment at the point in time. And at that, so this meeting is no activity meeting. Basically, has to happen at least 30 days prior to 30 or more days prior to that public hearing. And there's an opportunity for the public to testify at that public hearing, in addition to sharing comments directly with the RCO, OPDC, or here tonight as well. Comment. I think from there we'll pass that to back to Andrea or Nadine. How you would like to present from here.
Thank you so much, Tom. I think we are going to pass the mic at this point to Nadine. Nadine, if you wouldn't mind, please introducing yourself for everybody who's online. I'm sure everybody at the corner has met you already. And just let us know who you're going to be hearing from with regards to the project that we're all here to learn about.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nadine Montsegar-Taylor. I am the Executive Director of the Corner. I wanted to welcome everyone this evening and for all those who are joining virtually as well. At this time, I'm going to share my screen. So part of the project team, we have Janelle Kemmerer, who is from Friendship Community Church. She is an architect and a project consultant for this phase 2 construction project. We also have Jeffrey Zanino, who is here this evening to be presenting as well. He is a principal architect. And we have Sarah Kay, who is the architectural designer for this project. I did want to go over a brief overview of the Corner and our mission and what we do in the community. So the Corner is a grassroots community outreach program and multi-purpose space of Friendship Community Church. We are located in between two large communities, Oakland and the Hill District neighborhood. We were founded in 2011 out of the need for a third place community center and space. Many folks in the neighborhood recognize this building as breach menders, but we have been here since 2011. It is our mission to provide arts and social safety net programming that is a welcoming third place space model for residents of West Oakland, Oak Hill, the Hill District, and Greater Pittsburgh community. Our community impact, at the start of COVID, since April 2020, we have served over 2,500 lunch and dinner meals, as well as a variety of fresh foods, fruit and dairy products. We've distributed critical care items such as masks and hygiene and cleaning products, school supplies, warm coats for kids, holiday toy drives, turkey drives, everything you can imagine. We have worked to try to support our neighbors here. And we do have some of our volunteers. We have Miss Anna, who's in the audience, who's been a longtime volunteer with our food distribution. And that's just a really great opportunity for us to communicate and connect with our neighbors, to recognize what some of the needs are, so that we are on the front lines supporting and providing those resources. We have also distributed 61 computers to youth and adults living in West Oakland, Oak Hill, and the Hill District, working to bridge that digital divide, especially as we transitioned during the COVID period to online. So we were able to distribute those computers to adults and youth living here. We've provided $10,000 in emergency financial assistance to support families, seniors, and artists living in the community and impacted by COVID. And many folks use those for various reasons, whether it's for utilities, rental assistance, or to purchase critical care items to support their families. A really important piece to the Corner is that we do offer programming that centers on the arts. We have curated arts and cultural events that center music, spoken word, open mic nights, as well as jazz performances, art workshops for youth and adults. We have film screenings and community discussions here that center social justice issues and issues that matter most to folks living here in this community.
Sorry.
We have collaborated to launch the Read and Color Free Little Library that's located right outside, which has been a great resource for families and adults living in the community to have access to culturally relevant reading and academic learning materials. And we've hosted a back to school distribution event connecting 65 children to book bags and school supplies. Our program goals include standing in the gap with youth and families and seniors and low income residents, We also strive to serve as a safe space where community members can be part of something bigger than themselves, as well as have a voice, working to create accessible, affordable experiences and community-focused programming. We work to connect community members to leadership and volunteer opportunities, social service resources, and local social service organizations, and advocate for and with our neighbors on various social justice issues impacting our local and global historically marginalized communities. Just an overview of some of the additional programs that we have. We have health and wellness activities. All of our programming is free, or we do pay what you can, a pay what you can model, or a very small cover charge at the door to offset some of the program costs that we have. So we've had Zumba classes here, Pilates, yoga, you name it. We try to host it here for folks living in the neighborhood. We also have a grandparents raising grandchildren program that's led by one of our neighbors living in Oak Hill. That program, we work to meet monthly, and we actually have an event coming up this month. And then we have a 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom apartments located on the 2nd floor, where we center affordable housing needs in the neighborhood. And those 2 units are currently occupied by families with children, and the children actually come to our homework help tutoring program, which is wonderful. Our programming that centers youth, we have a homework help tutoring program for kids in K through 6th grade, and a Black Youth Connection mentorship program for our 6th and 12th grade students. And that is in collaboration with the University of Pittsburgh's Black Action Society and PitServes. So going back to a traumatic time, we did have a fire in the building at the start of January 2020. Since then, we did work during the COVID-19 pandemic to fully restore our apartments located on the level. So these are photographs of our 2-bedroom apartment. We were able to fully restore the unit, did a partial restoration of our 3-bedroom unit. So in our 2-bedroom, we're able to offer on-site laundry, have a dishwasher, and just really keeping in mind, wanting to offer amenities that center the families that we're looking to serve in the apartment. So for our phase 2 construction project goals, it is our goal to develop the corner building into a one-stop community hub for connection, creativity, advocacy, education, and a place for community to thrive for years to come. We are looking to have a full restoration of the corner cafe space. The corner cafe started operating in 2013 and continued to operate until 2018. And many of you know Miss Diane Howard, who was a longtime resident here on Terrace Street. She recently passed away in mid-January. So I just really want to take the time now to really honor her and the legacy and work that she has provided the Corner Cafe, the Corner Program, and this neighborhood as well. So we can just have a brief moment of silence. Thank you. It is our goal to build an addition that will house accessible restrooms, 80 accessible restrooms, and necessary program space, as well as office space to better serve our neighbors. Currently, we're operating the Corner Program with 1 full-time staff member, which is me. And then we have just really dedicated and committed volunteers who just care about community, care about this neighborhood, care about the families here, students, children, which has been a blessing. Another goal for this program, are looking to have a minority and women-owned businesses participate in the construction project. That is a top priority for us. And that was a top priority in our fire restoration project, and we would move forward with that in this next phase. As we look to the corner cafe, you know, I had a conversation right when we walked in, you know, the thought like, oh, would a Starbucks go here? That is not the goal with the cafe. We really want to build upon the work and the legacy that took place a couple years ago in the cafe space next door. So really wanting to continue for it to be a space for community, to have access to fresh food, tasty pastries, have a place in the community where people can come, get to know your neighbors, have conversations, get access to resources, and just learn about what's available, whether you're applying for a job, if you need help with creating your resume. Really do want this to be a one-stop shop for communities to be able to call this space their own. And part of that, we will also have a workforce development program that will be a part of the Corner Cafe. So looking into this becoming an intergenerational employment opportunity, where we have a team of neighbors, whether they're youth, elders in the community, seeing if we can participate in the City of Pittsburgh Learn to Earn program, I think would be a fantastic resource for youth living in the community, looking for employment opportunities. I have kids who are looking to apply for Learn and Earn. So if we can become a space for youth in the neighborhood, that would be a top priority. And then in addition to that is our priority to increase the corner program's overall capacity to serve. So the office space would support that so that we would have space for new staff members to be able to work and operate. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our architect and construction manager, Jeff Danino.
Hi, I'm Jeff Danino. I'm an architect. In addition to the new work, I've been working with the corner for about 5 years. We were responsible for the changes to the front, the new terrace, and new entrances. So Dean and I were just checking our dates. It's been 5 years, so it's good to be coming back and doing more work. And I'll just give you a quick rundown of what we're proposing, and then we'll switch to some renderings, which will give you a better idea of what this is actually going to look like. So the bulk of the work is going to be in the back of this building. It's a 2-story addition that comes out a little bit into the parking lot. It's about 2,500 square feet of additional space. A lot of what we're doing is allowing us to better use the building that we have, providing accessibility, handicap accessibility, providing accessible restrooms. This building, which is 202 Robinson and 200 Robinson, are at different floor elevations. There's about 30 inches difference, which is awkward, and it's particularly awkward if you have any mobility issues. So we're including the addition for people coming from the parking lot, if they were to access me or something, they'll come to the building, access both sides of the building. The opening up this wall between spaces as well. This community space, they'll be visually and physically connected, and so that programming events, and for now programming sort of go outside and you come back in, it just doesn't work, right? So that's a lot of what we're doing is making what we have work better. With this footprint of the addition, we have the ability to add staff offices, which are sort of now, and we're fortunate that the floor-to-floor height on the cafe side, which was originally a grocery store, is quite tall. So we're able to squeeze in a mezzanine level between, on that side, between the cafe and the apartments above. The new building is going to be Fairly simple metal stud construction. Floors, brick exterior, it's metal siding. Really, we're trying to sort of fit in with the neighborhood, the scale of the neighborhood, the scale of the building that's here. The addition will be new, it'll look new, but our expectation is that it's not going jumping out at you. We really wanted the emphasis to be on the front. We have the partly colored glass and new metal panels, and the terrace street entrance is more of a so within this building, the community event space, really, other than this wall getting up, this really doesn't change a whole lot. It's new lighting, ceilings, painting. The cafe space, likewise, big open space now. That configuration can stay the same, but it'll get all new finishes and a serving area in the back. Again, the cafe program before was very limited as to what they were served because they didn't have the proper, everything had to be packaged because they really weren't food handling infrastructure. So that'll be a big plus as far as just offering things and getting people to congregate here. The cafe side right now is completely covered. It was lost during the fire, and so it's pretty sad. I wanted to cry when I saw it.
Yes,
But
it did cry.
anyway, so and some other things we're gonna do is building identification siding. It is confusing with all the different entrances, knowing where to go and what to do. So the expectation is that a lot of the day-to-day sort of back of house stuff will come in through the terrace, and the sort of public facade will be how maybe show you the pretty picture.
Thanks, Jack. So here we have the rendering for the phase 2 construction. If you look to your far left, you'll see the exterior of the corner building from Robinson and Terrace Street. Really wanting to show the corner front as a warm and inviting space. Currently, no, I think we're able to achieve that with warm and bright pictures. But a lot of folks don't necessarily know what this building is. So adding visible signage, visible descriptions of the corner, as you can see here. And then to your right here, you can see the view of the corner cafe from Robinson Street. So just really wanting to add some additional seating area here, having a warm and inviting space. Working with Jeff and Sarah to add some artwork, because that will still remain to be a priority for us to engage artists that would be and have art that would be available for sale for people that come in. And then, as you can see at the bottom here, or in both images, you can see the steps that lead to the community room side. So really wanting to open up this area so that you can access both spaces, so that there would be just like even flow between the two instead of having to go outside. In this image here, this shows what the new addition would look like from Terrace Street. It really is a goal of ours to activate this parking area that's located in the back, making it another inviting space for music performances. We did have a music performance outside over the summer, which was really fun. And this can also be, just some seating here for the cafe, and just having a place for children to be also invited and welcome to be able to utilize this space too, which I think is very important to have. And this image here, you can see the interior of the community room where we're sitting now. So there would be some additional overflow seating for the cafe, but we also wanted to show what the space will look like with various programming happening here, because it will continue to be a multi-purpose space. So we would have our youth programs, and I'm not sure if you have your copies, kids raising their hand, that will still continue to happen here in the space. And then we also have on the lower right, an image of the community space set up for a music performance or events, continuing to center the arts. And then also making sure that this space would be available for rental reservations for folks in the community to be able to utilize themselves. We've had birthday parties here, baby showers, graduation parties, which you can actually still host in this space. So yeah, just making sure that in this next space, really making sure that this is a space for communities to be able to use for their own personal programs and events. So we do have an image here of what the cafe serving counter will look like. You know, these images were created in at the end of 2021, but we do have Miss Diane as a greeter, a photo of her as a greeter, because really thinking to keep Miss Diane in mind as we move forward with the cafe. But you can see what this counter space will look like. And then we also have the cafe prep area here, just thinking about some of the guidelines with the Allegheny Health Department, having, you know, a prep area with proper refrigeration, which will really open us up to have a menu that will offer, you know, a wide array of items compared to when we first started. These images here also show what we are looking to have for the office space. There will be an office located on the mezzanine level, as well as an office located on the second floor. And as you continue on, we have images of what the addition, what the entrance from Terrace Street will look like, which will include, as Jeff shared, it will include a lift that will take you to the mezzanine level and the second level, as well as steps that will take you out to the side of the cafe serving counter. And then we have ADA accessible restrooms, which is a huge need here. Currently, our restrooms as a temporary fix is located in the basement. So we really want to make sure that we are offering ADA accessible restrooms for. So we did create an X-ray view of the program spaces, because I can understand how this seems to be like really confusing to kind of like figure out where like what office or what space goes where. So with this view, you can see the entrance from what is currently the parking area, where it takes you. We're looking to have a small room here that may have some cafe storage opportunities, but also a big need. We don't have a space to like really receive mail and packages for the corner, for corner staff and for tenants. Robinson is a very busy street, so if you are ordering something, like you have to really keep an eye on it to make sure that you receive it. But just making sure that we're receiving, you know, have a space to receive packages. And then we also have steps here that lead to the mezzanine level. If I come back down here, you'd be able to access the lift that would take you to both the mezzanine and this upper floor. There's an additional office space here. This view shows you where the restroom would be located. And then as I continue up the stairway, we have the entrances to the corner apartments, to the 2 and the 3-bedroom apartment. And with this lift, it will really allow us to hire and just broaden our ability to hire staff and have tenants that may need certain ADA accessible accommodations, which is very important. I'll have Jeff jump back in on the floor for you.
The olive green space at the top is the community room that we are now. It's pretty much staying the same, except for the finishes, middle, lower. part in the lighter green is the cafe, which again is the final space right now. We're adding serving area in the back. The new addition is to the right, that's the gray area. First level, at the end from the parking area on Terrace Street. Stairs, connecting all the levels, including the basement, which is the wide open space that we're not able to use now because we're in access to it. First, the accessible lift is opposite the stairs. That'll connect the first floor, the mezzanine, second level. It's called a LULA, limited use, limited application. It's intended. It's a thing that's permitted in renovating older buildings to provide accessibility. And behind that are the 2 new restrooms, which are accessible restrooms. That's what we needed. Down to the bottom of the page, there's a office mezzanine level, a shared office. And on the second level, another shared office with access apartments. Currently, the apartments do have secure access, but it's an outside porch with stairs. So this will be a much better improvement as far as providing safe egress as well as egress. Skipped over the parking lot. Parking lot is being reduced slightly. We're going to be losing 1 parking space, but adding a handicap accessible van accessible space, as well as bicycle. This on while I read. So, upcoming work, or the work that we've done most recently, was the facade panels were installed. That was a blade project. I remember that there's plywood on the building here. So that's a big improvement for longevity and the appearance of the building. We have undergone some due diligence work with survey, as well as geotechnical investigations. We did a preliminary review with city planning and got back some very helpful comments. Some of the issues that we likely are going to be variance on is the location of the addition will be on the property line. When we originally started this project, we thought that the building was on the property line, and we were extending the back of the existing building. We discovered with the survey that the building was actually off the property line. The addition stayed the same location, but our building. And then because the community center, because we're in a residential zone, community center, it's a special exception. So we'll be adding programming to the community center, and we'll need a variance to do that. And there's some question as to whether the cafe is considered part of the community center or as a separate entity. And lastly, as we're changing vehicle parking space, bicycle parking space will need approval. Upcoming is we're having this meeting, and we get feedback from that, and then we'll be preparing our application.
So the magic question is, how much will this project cost? So the estimated project cost is $905,000. We did receive, we went through the process to receive the estimate from the contractor, and then we'll be moving through the process to secure this funding. We did receive a grant from Macaulay Ministries for $210,000. where $100,000 of that funding is available for pre-development costs. So the funding that we received from Macaulay Ministries was able to support some of the stages that Jeff detailed, which is the geotechnical report to really help us determine, is an addition even possible? So there were various steps that we had to take to get to this point. So we do have, quite a road ahead to raise this additional funding. We absolutely invite folks from the community to help participate in that process to help us secure additional funding. And we look forward to working with folks because so many of you have been a part of that process to help us get here. So I want to say thank you to everyone really and to our funders for your support. In terms of timeline, we are looking at, we're here at the end of January, so presenting to organizations and sharing, part of this process, the development activities meeting with our registered community organization. And then in February, we're looking to submit an application to the Department of City Planning. In March, they're looking for the Zoning Board of Adjustment hearing. And then in mid-May, looking for a notice of determination from the Zoning Board. And then moving into June and August, preparation of construction documents. In September, receiving construction pricing, and then looking to begin construction in October of this year. The construction project would continue until May of 2024, with us moving back into the building in June of 2024. So I do have to say this is a tentative timeline. There are a lot of pieces to this puzzle that needs to be in place, to really get through these, but really wanted to present to you all and share, what this could potentially look like for the project. So at this time, we'd like to open it up for questions and feedback.
All this is owned by Friendship Church. What part does OPDC have in programming and in building?
Right. So OPDC does not own this building. This building is owned by Friendship Community Church located directly across the street. Friendship acquired the building after the end of Reach Menders. So all of our programming, we do our own fundraising. We receive support from Friendship Community Church as well. So we are a community outreach program and multi-purpose space of Friendship Community Church. So OPDC, and you can jump in if you would like, the role that they're playing in this meeting, they are part of a process when it comes to development projects specific to Oakland. They are the registered community organization for Oakland. So most development projects have to go through this process. And because this is a project, that will require variances and other, steps to get to completion, we also have to go through the formal process, and Oakland Planning and Development Corporation is facilitating that process. Does that answer your question? Okay. If there's clarity needed and OPDC and the city can detail more about the process.
Yeah,
I just want to say you basically nailed it right there. So just to clarify, so Oakland Planning and Development Corporation, just exactly as Nadine said, we do not own the corner. We have at various times provided property management for the apartments up above. We don't do that anymore, but we are neighbors and we are community stakeholders. And from what it is that we've seen this evening, we definitely want this to succeed. So we are here to provide this forum for people to ask questions and to offer comments. We are interested in hearing, how the community's members feel about this this project and what kinds of needs are being addressed here, as well as any questions people might have about the way the structure interacts with the rest of the street.
Well, thank you, Andrea. And maybe I'll briefly just add from DCP. So basically, the OPDC has the RCO. Whenever there's a development above a certain scale or impact or threshold in the neighborhood in their area, they cover it open. And that also is expected to go to like a board of commission. So zoning, probably the zoning board of adjustments lately. That's when these development activities meetings are held in there. Along with city planning, but primarily the RTM of the RCO, they're the host of that forum.
Would you like to read the question?
You want me to read it? Yeah, sure. So the question online was from Mavis Rainey from Oakland TMH. She asked, do you know if construction will require lane restrictions or closures of either Terrace or Robinson Street?
Deliveries, I'm not expecting either street either closed. Majority of the work is going to be in the back of the building and parking lot there, so any staging and day-to-day movement will happen. We don't know if we're going to require lane closures on Robinson and Terrace, but I don't think so because we have the parking lot for access to the building, and that's where most of the work is.
But we will, we really want to make this a transparent process, so we will have opportunities to engage the community, facilitating the West Oakland Neighborhood Council for 7-8 years. This is a very important piece. We are neighbors, and it's important to make sure that we are working with contractors, letting them know, what streets can't, use. Like, those are things that we will be looking to partner with our contractor to hold them, accountable in that process. And we also want you to hold us accountable in the process too, because I feel that that's important for us throughout this project. But there will absolutely be opportunities to provide feedback, to ask questions. I'll provide my contact information. Welcome to stop in here, or I can meet you at another location. Like, I really want this to be a process where folks feel that they're heard and have an opportunity to share their concerns and what they like. That is very important to me and to many of us on the project too. Are there any other questions? Comments?
No, this is Miss B.
Miss B.
Hi, everyone. No, I think the plans are awesome. We will have to probably keep an eye out on the construction traffic because there's no getting away around it. You know what I mean? It takes the trucks, it takes the materials to build it. So just know Miss B will have her eye open and be wagging and flagging really bad violations because I had my fence already knocked over with some of the bigger trucks coming through for the bigger projects up there at Pitt. So that is a process. So just so y'all know, if there's any dust or anything like that, give us the courtesy of the wet truck and wet down that dusty dirt and everything that comes behind it. But it sounds awesome. Thank you, Miss May. Sorry I couldn't be there in person.
No, absolutely. And yeah, a lot of those recommendations, we definitely want to hear that, so that we can communicate that to contractors and other folks that are part of the project.
I was gonna wanted to ask in terms of the office, that might the expansion of office space, that might potentially also be a variance that may come up.
Yes, that's a good point. We currently do have an occupancy for offices in this building, but those will be shifting to the addition.
I'm sorry, for the benefit of the people online, Tom, your question was a little garbled. Were you asking about occupancy?
Yeah, I'm asking about if there may be potential variance for the additional office space or the proposed office space
As a non-permitted use.
It's my understanding is that if and Joe Breaker may be able to weigh in, but it's sounds like there is, what I'm hearing, there is a certificate of occupancy for it, but the question would be like since it's a non-conforming use in the zone, that might be something to look at by the zoning board adjustment.
But I mean, I guess goes back to this, the offices are in support of the community center, so it doesn't mean.
Yeah, Thomas, if I could just jump in, it might depend on whether or not the offices are considered to be part of the community center or not. And we would review that once we receive the application, but they may not be a separate use.
Joe, maybe you could clarify for everybody how you make that determination if the uses are separate or the same.
I think so. A general way to look at it is if they provide a supporting role to the community center.
Could you also
And that would
maybe,
be the same for the cafe. The cafe may also be part of the community center use, or it may be separate. But from what it sounds like, it may be all part of the same use.
okay. I was hoping maybe you could also clarify for us why it is that this project needs a variance. I was not hearing exactly what it was that Mr. Janino was saying, but it appears that it has to do with how close to the property line the expansion is going to fall.
Yeah, so I'm speaking in generalities because we haven't reviewed the application yet. But so what seems to be proposed here is for an addition to the structure that's existing, but the addition is going to be within the required setback, which is the location between where the building is allowed to be on the property and the property line. So it's going to be within that zone. And whenever there's an addition to a building that falls in that zone, it requires zoning relief in the form of a variance from the zoning board of adjustment.
And are the
this
conditions
it looks
for grant? Sorry?
Yeah, so it looks like this will fall within that zone, as shown on the site plan. And at that time, at the zoning board of adjustment, the community would also have an opportunity to offer their insights or support or what have you.
And just for everybody's information, could you clarify, please, what is the basis on which variances would be granted or denied in a case like this, where the question is about how close to the property line somebody can build? I'm familiar with some of the structures, right? So it's about a question about like whether or not it's possible to build this in such a way that it does not interfere with that zone, whether, it causes any kind of harm, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe you could just kind of outline.
Yeah, I can't go into specific details, but generally that's right. If, it helps for these projects to have support from the community. So that's one reason why we hold these meetings. It's so the community can see what exactly the project scope is, because projects that do encroach into the setbacks will have more of an impact on surrounding properties. So that's one of the reasons why we're having this. So basically, the applicant will need to make their case in front of the board, but the board makes a determination based on the merits of each case, and that's always different. So,
excuse me, are we discussing the space in between one structure and the other, like an alleyway or something? Is that what these comments are?
yeah, that's a fair way to look at it. It's just kind of the distance between where a building is allowed to be built on the property and the property line. So sometimes that's 5 feet, sometimes that's like 10 feet. It just depends on which zoning district you're in. In this zoning district, I believe it's 5 feet. So that area is required to be vacant space.
And the preliminary amount is 5 feet? Would you guesstimate or whatever? Since you...
I'll let the applicant speak to that.
Oh, my fault. That can go later.
Oh, that's okay.
So the existing building, we were under the impression that it was built onto the property line. It appears to be on the property line. In actuality, it's offset 1 foot. Just due to an inaccuracies of what was constructed. So we like to build the full width of the property as the original building was constructed. But taking into consideration that the original building was built 1 foot high, expected to be built.
All right, thank you.
So if I could, I'm just sorry, I just want to restate that because again, it was a little, the audio is a little difficult for you. You're saying the original structure, the building that currently sits on the site is offset from where it's supposed to be with respect to its own build to line, and that you're following the contextual relationship of the addition is with the building, with the existing building, as opposed to with the property line, which is not where you would expect it to be. Is that correct?
Yes, we're building we're building the full width of the property, which is what the existing building appears to have been built, except for the fact that it is a foot off on the property.
Sounds like what's trying to be said is the existing building meant to be built all the way up to the property line, but was not. It is 1 foot short. So the plan is to build to the existing property line as currently measured.
You're away while we're doing this project. The project is think about some speed bumps. Get people in and out of the state. Because if you're parking on Pierce and your street to let your children out, you have to get out your car with the bus coming possibly around you. And a lot of the traffic, it was not allowed. It was at one time it was not allowed to go down Robinson because they were getting mirrors on their car from you could see shuttles and just different things. But now there's so much construction on Dara. Some of the in the morning the shuttles go down Robinson. They don't in the evening. So that might be, I mean, most places there's a drop off. You know, like there's a couple parking spaces allotted. I can't see that happening here because most of the homes they have 1 car. But if you're someone who's renting a house, there may be 4 cars to that house. So what do you do for the safety of parents out of cars or even accessing on? Because you're making, remember you're coming in the back. So when you're coming in the back, you're coming around that bend. They're coming from the parkway. That's what they believe in their mind. They're coming from the parkway. Once they hit the middle school and they get the light, they're coming from the parkway. Stop sign. If they hit the stop sign. Most of the time they go to the stop sign.
I'm terribly sorry if I'm misunderstanding the question because it's a little hard for us to hear over here. But I from what I am understanding from what I can hear, it seems like it would be a useful question for us to explore further with Domi about proposed changes to traffic flow on Robinson that were part of the Oakland plan, and how this is sort of consistent with it. And I know, Tom, you're pretty familiar with that and might be able to explain it here, but I'm perhaps we could have a little follow-up conversation with Domi. I don't think that this project specifically would warrant or require a traffic study, correct?
No, I don't think it would.
Right, I didn't think so either, but I think that as a conversation, this would be a great topic for us to explore because it has to do with a lot of different things. Ms. B, you spoke earlier about how your property had been damaged by some of the construction vehicles that going up and down the University of Pittsburgh's projects up at the top of the hill, if I understood you correctly. I just want to tell everybody in the room, the university has specifically asked us, and I'm sure also the coroner, to report to them if there are any kinds of issues and conflicts like that so that they can be addressed. We've bird dogged a couple of construction vehicles that were not supposed to be where we're in fact driving, and so we're very concerned that Pitt have respect for the neighborhood with regards to its construction vehicles. Please let us know if those kinds of conflicts occur again in the future. We would like to follow up about that. Not that that's directly related, but it's a sort of an issue of ongoing concern about how the traffic flows on Robinson and Terrace.
And yeah, I think just dovetail on your point, it's a really great question. I do think it sounds like that would be kind of a separate conversation maybe about kind of working with Domi, as Andrea said, and we could, I could be part of that conversation. If desired, I worked on some of the open panels and some of the safety issues. And also the neighborhood planner, OSAC and Logan is probably your initial point person for that. She's the other person for the open neighborhood. There would probably also liaison with Domi on that. That would be a further important point to converse about.
You don't want to deter them. You don't want to build something and then they don't have parking.
There's something questions like that on how to, a loading zone type space.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That'd be a good question for Domi to see about it, and it ties too with the implementation of the Oakland plan, I think. So,
Thomas, do you have a contact that you could give folks right now of who they should be in touch with within Domi about this?
I would believe that would be Dave Munson, right? So
Dave is no longer with Domi. He was our initial or primary contact with the Oakland plan with Domi. The current person is Panini Chowdhury, who's the planning manager for Domi. Would probably be between contacting, I'd say both Panini, but also DCP could kind of be a liaison to Domi as well with that. So again, OSAC and Lowton is the planner. I'd say first go to her. She is out on leave now. You could send it if you'd like. You could email me about it, and I could figure it out within our department, either myself or someone else over covering for her to contact Panini and that conversation.
Tom, could I ask you to drop the new Domi chat into the chat for this, if you don't mind, please?
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't aware that Dave had left. I'm sorry.
He's up pretty.
And Mavis is saying that the Eric Setzler is the senior engineer at Domi and another good contact in this regard. Thanks, Mavis. Thank you so much, Tom.
Yeah.
What does support look like for this project? I heard, I guess, the zoning person say that during the review process, support, they're looking to see that the community supports the project. I'm not hearing any dissenters, but what does support look like? How does the community make its wishes known to see the project completed?
I could answer that, or Joe, if you have something that you'd like to say.
Support can come in a variety of ways. If you'd like to provide your opinion on the project, you can write to, or once the application is made, and once we actually schedule this for the Zoning Board of Adjustment, you can either write your support to our ZBA coordinator and he can document that, or you participate at the actual hearing for this case. So there are two venues, and you can also kind of work with OSA, Akin Lowton, the community planner, to make sure that we receive that support. And oftentimes the local community organization will also provide kind of a letter documenting the outcome of this meeting, but I'll let Andrea speak more to that.
Right, so as the hosts for this meeting, we will be providing a written report to the zoning board, explaining what it is that we heard at this meeting and any subsequent comments that we might have received. So If any of you, if any of your friends, if any of your neighbors would like to submit comments and you don't want to have to write testimony to the zoning board or appear at the zoning board hearing, you're welcome to send your comments to questions@opdc.org. We will incorporate those into the report that we send to zoning. And you're also welcome to talk with any of our staff that are often up there in the neighborhood. So Dave, who is currently emceeing on the ground there, Dave, if you could wave for anybody who doesn't know you, you can tell him things and he will record what it is that you say and relay that to me. All of that will go into our report. Your comments can be anonymous or they can be named as you prefer. It's completely up to you, but we really do want to hear what you think and what you feel about this project.
Thank you. I'm happy to jump in a little bit on I know the variances were kind of brought up and there were some questions about that. Joe, please correct me if I'm off on any of this, but in general terms, basically the zoning for this lot is for both the 200 and 202 is it's residential and attached residential. So I mean, there's kind of this attached wall in between, and that normally like you wouldn't be able to have an office, you wouldn't be able to have a large community center. You might be able to have a small community center. You might not. If there was a certain thing of what you can have, again, basically the zoning code had its rules around reducing how much these other uses are allowed in order to keep it kind of residential. But there's cases where if there's already been those uses kind of legally allowed on the site by the time that the zoning rules came into place, then there's ways to get acceptance for that. And so that's basically what these certificates of occupancy that the corner already has for some of these uses, from what I understand, they're going to provide documentation of that. But I think that if that's shown as valid by the zoning board of adjustment, and then there's cases where maybe if they're expanding into those use areas, so if the community center is determined to be within a certain size that's larger than what their previous certificate allowed, then that's something that they need a potential variance on, or the same with the office space. There's a lot more nuances and technical elements to that, but that's I think in broad terms in terms of the uses what's being considered, and then there's the dimensional side, like the lot line that was discussed with earlier. So I think it's a very broad term. I can't speak super definitively because there hasn't been an application yet to zoning, but I think that's, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of the general sense of what the zoning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you got that right, Tom.
Hope that helps add some clarity. I hope it didn't.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Nadine?
Yeah.
If nobody has any questions or comments in the space, this is Marisol Valentin. I'm the executive director for Macaulay Ministries. Hi, everyone. And I work with both Oakland Planning and also with Nadine. And I apologize, my camera is not on. If I turn it on, my bandwidth falls. But I just wanted to share, it's not common for us as foundations to comment at these meetings, but we are also neighbors. Our offices are located at the Carlow University. And I personally was a resident of Oak Hill for 10 years and benefited from the services at the corner. So when Macaulay reviewed this program for funding, we felt that the design, including the office space and the cafe, were critical steps for the corner in order to be able to really support the great programming that they're already doing, and to also be able to generate additional support from the foundation community, because a lot of the foundations are going to be looking at sustainability and having additional staff that can be able to generate the impact of their programming was an important factor for us to consider. So I just wanted to share that with the city, that the design has gone through that lens of review from a foundation. And I know following the start of the project, they've been able to get additional support from other foundations for their programming work as well. So it's a growing grassroots organization that I think is worthy of support.
Thank you so much for that, Marisol. And sort of dovetailing with what you just said, and in the context of the earlier remarks about the Oakland plan, that the coroner's space here was identified in the Oakland plan process as being an important community hub and a resource for the community, even as it is. The needs to sort of examine opportunities to expand the services that the coroner offers and perhaps to expand the space were also discussed as part of the Oakland plan. Not 100% certain how much of it exactly made it into the final document, but that's can attest as a member of the steering committee and as a participant in all of those conversations that these were needs that were pretty clearly articulated and heard by city planning at the time.
I just want to say, thank you so much again, to our ministries, to many of you in the room, to our neighbors, our supporters. We really could not get to this point without your support. So thank you for taking the time to be here this evening. We don't take that for granted. I really do want to emphasize that we want this to be an open flow of communication, sharing of resources. If there are concerns or questions, I am here to answer them. And we also have other folks on the team who would be happy to do that. We have our contact information. There were some questions.
Did you have a question or a comment, ma'am?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah.
There was a office space. We're going to do tutoring and things.
Yes.
So is that space part of something else now?
The upstairs.
Yeah.
So that is currently the apartment that we shared. So the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom apartment is located upstairs, and we have 2 families living in both units. And if you look in the packet, you can kind of take a look at the renovations that were done after the fire this is what the space looks like now. This is the 2-bedroom unit. There was the office space that you're referring to, that was transitioned into housing. The change happened at the start of 2010, went through some minor, renovations to get to that point. But, since then we've continued on with the housing piece because it is such an important need in the community. So we did transition the apartment so that we can accept Section 8 housing vouchers to really support that affordable housing need. Absolutely. No, I appreciate your question. Thank you. And I did want to share, for folks in the room, we do have a form for you to, submit your questions and comments. We'll also create a link that people can share their questions and comments, and we'll collaborate with OPDC, since they have email and link as well, so that we can try to make sure that we are, answering folks' questions. So I'll share that. And we have our contact information. I do have some cards too for folks to share with you. Our contact information is also at the bottom of this feedback form. So the office number is listed there as well as email address. And I can also be reached, there's the info@coronerpgh email, but I can also be reached at nadine@coronerpgh.org. That is my new email address. So please feel free to send your questions about this project, or if you have ideas about programs or events that we could host here in the space, opportunities to partner and collaborate. would be happy to meet with you beyond this date. .org, yes.
So
Thank you.
thank you. I want to just make sure that we have, if anyone has additional questions, either online or in the room. So if there are no additional questions, I think we've now provided all of the different places for you to reach out if you have additional questions or if you have additional comments. And indeed, thank you very much, Dave, for putting that in the chat. We're going to end the DAM portion of this meeting as soon as I'm done talking, but I would like everybody to know that if you would like to continue to talk about other things that are not related to this project, we're willing to stay on for a bit and have an ordinary community conversation. So I just wanted to offer that as an option. You're welcome to leave, obviously, or if you're welcome to stay if you'd prefer to stay. So thank you all again very much for all of your time. Thank you very much to the folks from City Planning, to Joe and to Tom for all your time there. And to Marisol, thank you very much for coming as well. I'm glad to see you here. And to all of the neighbors who turned out. It's really wonderful to see you. And I'm glad that we had this opportunity to hear what it is that the corner has in mind. So with that, thanks very much and good night.